I'm McDonald, and this is my studio. The space is relatively new to me. Before I had this space, all of my work happened in my shop, which we'll go to shortly. I've been in Red Hook for the past 6 years and in Brooklyn for about 12 years now. Before that, well, I grew up in the suburban Philadelphia, and I went to college studying architecture in Middlebury, Vermont. And then I came to New York City, and these different environments that I've spent time in and had all these, parts of my life in have really shaped the way that I think about myself, humans in general, and the way that we interact with our environment, the way that our environment shapes us. Another thing that's really shaped my ideas around humans and environment, which is really the thing to me that design is all about, are a lot of traveling in my 20s, including a year by myself traveling overland from Beijing to Istanbul over the course of the better part of a year. And aside from the cultures, the architecture and environments, both the natural environments and the built environments, really influenced how I thought about design and the world, and how it affects our psychology and our way of being in the world. This was something furthered by my time in West Africa. When I came back to New York City after living in this very different way, in this very different world, I wanted to bring back some of that essential joy and that feeling of connection to the earth that I gained through making earth buildings there. And I found it really interesting that I couldn't think of a way to make earth buildings in New York City. And so I started making sculpture with that intent of bringing this contrast of this other world and this other time and this other part of my life into the contemporary part of my life, into the present. And that became the driving force of my work, bringing the natural and the urban together. So let me introduce you to my underground collection. So there are 4 pieces, part of this new collection of mine, and 3 out of the 4 of them have this element of metal and an element of a natural lime plaster that I've been experimenting with a lot. This is the underground table. It consists of this organic form that's treated with a lime plaster on the outside and then a polished lime plaster on the interior of the forms, on these concavities that are covered with glass. And there's also this chromed steel element which harks back to kind of the quintessential modernist coffee table, chrome and glass. This is the cave mirror, which was the first piece in the series. And you can see, similar to the underground table, I'm interested in creating these forms and then slicing them with something like an architectural section cut and exposing what's inside of them. This is the internal chair, and this piece is wrapped in leather. My first leather piece, which reminds me of an internal organ, but also I think of the chair as a place to kind of be internal, to go into yourself a little bit and to think and sit. This is, again, the Tentacle polished lime plaster. It's the Tentacle Lamp, or the Tentacle Table. It's both a lamp and a side table. I imagine it kind of next to a couch, and there's plenty of space on the table for your drink and your book. And yet eating into that space and eating into this kind of very simple, minimalist, clean design of this pedestal table, we have this organic form growing out of or eating away at this table. So I always start out with sketches, just trying to draw what's in my head. Been doing a lot of modeling in clay, making these small little mock-ups of things to help me, and then I work between model and sketch. And I've been also then taking the model and then using digital fabrication methods like CNC to then realize the full-scale work. A lot of these pieces are with lime-based plasters, and I'm gonna just show you real quick example of how that works. I have, dozens of these containers of different colors, different mixes, clay heavy mixes, sand heavy mixes, all different things that I've been playing with. So I'm just kind of and I have all of these, little recipes for each one of them. So I make a substrate, and there are many ways, a few different methods I use to make the substrate. And it goes on quite thin, and usually I'm doing many layers, many thin layers on top of each other. And often I'll smooth it with a trowel at first to really get the adherence of the material and the bond between the plaster and the substrate. But with my forms, it's always difficult to get these lines, trowel marks out of the plaster. So what I often do, I'll smooth it with my hand, and it gives it this kind of, it'll smooth everything out, make it a consistent coat. And I also just love this part of the process. I mean, this is what I fell in love with in West Africa, just like the feeling of wet earth on your hands. I mean, it's clay, it's this essential kind of human process and connection with material and with our world. So this work is about creating this imagined reality, this imagined future in which we're in touch with our evolutionary pasts. But you walk out the door and there's a present reality. So I'm going to take you out there and the half-block walk to my shop where the production of all these things happens. Welcome to my shop. This is Shape Studio. In addition to producing my own work, we also operate as a primarily metal shop, fabricating for other designers and artists. So this is our CNC machine. So I can cut anything, any shape that I can draw on. I use this for almost every piece that I make. This is Chris, who runs all the production. He's working right now on a creature table, which is a piece of mine from 2018, and making new additions and new finishes. The original one was green and black marbled, and we're doing a blue one. So all the products are made here in Red Hook, Brooklyn. They're available in custom finishes. We also work with on private commissions and commissions for pieces aside from the product line. Please go see my website, www.studiojmcdonald, just the letter J, .com, or my Instagram at jjjmcdonald to learn more, and please get in touch. Thanks so much for stopping by. It's been a pleasure.